Hello and welcome to Donington Park for the first round of the 2019 GT Cup Championship. We have got a packed grid of GT cars waiting to tackle the challenging Donington National Circuit. Now, GT Cup has a 5-level group structure and points are scored within each group. This means that any driver in any group has a chance of becoming the GT Cup champion. The 5 groups are all based on a power to weight ratio. So here's how we identify who's who. We'll start with GTA, a class for lower specification Cup, Challenge and one make series cars with a maximum BHP of 375. Now, a perfect example of this is Graham Tilley's Ginetta G55 GT4. But other eligible models would be BMW M3, Nissan 350Z and Porsche 996. The GTH is a class for homologated cars running to the manufacturer's GT4 specs. The 2018 championship winner is a really good example of this. Whitebridge Motorsport's Aston Martin Vantage GT4. The Ginetta G55 is another favourite for GTH. The next group up is GTB. Now, cars in this group are either modified saloon-based GT vehicles or early years Challenge and Cup cars with minimum specification changes. The limit on BHP here is 425. GTB cars include the likes of Ferrari 430, Lotus Elise and this, the 911 of David Frankland. The GTC group includes later model Challenge and Cup specification cars with performance balancing where required. This group allows a maximum BHP of 475. The group features cars like this, the Lamborghini Huracan of the Webb brothers and the Ferrari 488 Challenge from FF Corse. Group GTO is an open specification group and the fastest in the championship with a max BHP per tonne of 525. GTO cars are subject to balance of performance system but can include GT3, GT2 or GTE cars. Modified GT Challenge cars such as the Gibson's McLaren 650S are also eligible, as are cars that aren't from the recognised GT manufacturers or cars built in very low volumes. So things like National Motorsport Academy's Mosler, for example. The GT Cup has one of the most diverse grids of GT cars in the UK, and the unique group structure ensures thrilling racing throughout the grid, as you're about to see.
So here we go, it is the 2019 GT Cup season starter here at Donington National, and pole position is the returning Richard Chamberlain, his Porsche 935 with Adrian Wilmot alongside him, John Searle in 55 and Paul Gibson in number 48. And off we go, and it's a great haul shot by Richard Chamberlain, taking with him the M6 GT3 Century Motorsport car of Adrian Wilmot. And in fact, I think it's the sister Century Motorsport car of Dominic Paul that's gone from the 3rd row to 3rd on the road. What a fantastic start by the big M6 GT3 that's new to Dominic this year, so still getting used to it. I think he's doing all right there. He's got himself up to 3rd already before they even get down through the crane of curves. John Searle in that new car to him, rather bright livery, so it's helpful for commentators. Thank you very much, John, I appreciate that. But he's got himself up into 4th position at the moment after quite a frantic start to this race. It looks to me as though Lucky Kieran, their new McLaren 650S, he and Lee Frost sharing that this year, and allegedly they're still getting to grips with it, but doing cracking with that. Paul Gibson just behind in number 48. It's Dad in the car today. Son Dan will be taking it onto the circuit tomorrow. And look at this. The green and the yellow and black car just behind is new this year as well. Familiar names, the Webb brothers. James Webb at the wheel this time, and they got themselves a Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo, and they're going great guns as it stands. And this is the sister cars going at it. Dominic Paul looks towards the inside as he comes down towards Redgate. Is he going to do it? And he's onto the grass, and he's across the circuit. Oh, goodness me, how did everybody miss? He's just kissed the barrier there. Hopefully not too much damage, but he has got himself into the gravel by the looks of it. How did everybody miss him there? That was quite incredible, and that kind of has bulked everyone up a little bit at the moment as they threw the anchors out the back. It looks to me as though the one that's really gained there is Paul Gibson. Did a great job jumping ahead of Lucky Kira in the 29 650S. Great job for him there. And Richard Chamberlain may have been spooked, but not anymore. He's up there. Of course, that will have all happened in his mirrors, but it still looked as though he freaked out a little bit, but he's now stretching his legs again. And Adrian Wilmot's the one that's under pressure from Paul Gibson. He's done fantastic during the course of that, and he's harrying that big BMW all the way down the start-finish straight. Lucky Kira just behind him in 29, and then John Seal in the JMH run, Lamborghini Huracan GT3. Just behind them as well, I see the Top Cats racing Marcus Mantis of Warren Gilbert. That car's something like 30 years old, and he's actually putting pressure on these new GT3 cars. Awesome job there by Warren Gilbert. He does love taking that car out. Look at this pair of McLarens all the way down through the Craner curves and round Old Hairpin. And Lucky Kira is now trying to apply the pressure and see if he can find a way past the Gibson Motorsport run car. And look at this, what happened to Richard Chamberlain's lead, because all of a sudden Adrian Wilmot is putting massive pressure as they went up through McLean's. Round Kopic, I thought he was having this little sneaky look up the inside, but he thought better of it as they now go onto the straight. And what's this? Is this slowing down by Richard Chamberlain? And the move past, yellow flags in the background, and it looks as though Paul Gibson's done it as well. I think that we've got hands out there as well from Adrian Wilmot. Everybody's realised that the safety car boards, I think, looking at that, we'll wait to see confirmation. Certainly seen multiple yellow flags, hands out, and everybody getting back into the order. Yes, it is. Look, you can see multiple yellow flags waving and abated speed. Yep, there's the safety car board, and Dominic has recovered his car from the gravel. Great job by the marshals as always. As we hear the engines being wound back up again, it means it's time to go racing. Here we go. Safety car is in, and Richard Chamberlain, what a fantastic start. He's been away from racing a little bit. You wouldn't know it, would you? He's just managed to get a fantastic restart as the safety car peeled in. Lucky Kira desperately trying to find a way back past Paul Gibson. Paul Gibson did, of course, start ahead of him in the grid, but in the early stages of this race, they did the old switcheroo, did those two McLarens. But John Seale's really done well with this restart. He's right on the back of them. There was a bit of fresh air before that safety car. He's right up there with them again this time. And Warren Gilbert staying with them as well, doing a brilliant job in that Marcus Mantis. I love seeing that car out there. Long may it continue. As they make their way up through Schwantz Curve, round McLean's they go. Oh, I thought that James Webb was about to make a move then. I think that was on Lucky Christopher. So that is GTC honours that was there. There's Chris Carr in the Porsche Cayman number 88. He's going to be racing with Dino Zamparelli this year. And that would be interesting to see him out in the car as well. We know that he loves racing his Porsche. So here we go. This is the GTC fight between number 27, Lucky Christoforu, and he's keeping Webb's behind him at the moment. And not their BMW this year, something completely new, but he's up there harrying, as we've seen so many years gone by. Down in towards Redgate they go. He's not sort of showing his nose there. He's just harrying, making sure that he's putting as much pressure on as possible to see if he can take GTC honours. And we've got a challenge down in towards Old Hairpin. A great move by John Seal as he dives up the inside of Lucky Kira. A fantastic move there. Lucky saw it coming, but it was too late to do anything about it. Look at this. Chris Carr trying desperately to defend from the 21 car of Joshua Jackson, Team Hard Janetta, and he's still trying to come back at him. And I thought that David Franklin was going to try and mop up some of the pieces or create pieces of his own for a second there. And we've got Brent Millages diving up the inside of Joshua Jackson now. And so that is the Team Spy Motorsport car that has just managed to sort of get himself up one of the places, as I think Joshua Jackson was just unsettled with the amount of fighting that was going on, and he just took his eye off, and through went Brent Millage. I think he's likely to come back at him, but saying that, Brent Millage is on a bit of a charge now because he's on the back of David Franklin's 911 car. That was not such a clean move by John Seal as he went up into the chicane onto the start-finish straight, and he just kind of pushed Lucky Kira out of the way. So Lucky Kira is still behind John Seal, and in fact he's trying to defend against Paul Gibson now as they come down through the crane. It goes round Old Hairpin, they go. So they sit in the same order at the moment, but all Gibson's go. Oh no, and Chris Carr has dropped it in the kitty litter. That doesn't look like that's going to get out there anytime soon. And there's the red flag. It's in a dangerous place just as they come onto the start-finish straight. A great victory by Richard Chamberlain in his Porsche. Takes GTO honours and overall in the race. Warren Gilbert takes GTB honours and 6th overall in his Marcus Mantis. GTC goes the way of James Webb and 7th overall. Ryan Harper-Ellam takes GTA with an 11th place finish, and 13th and GTH honours goes to Steve Ruston in his JMH Automotive McLaren.
Richard, fantastic results in race 1.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a bit of a surprise to me, but the car ran beautifully and everything went to plan.
So tell us about the car then, because there's a bit of history.
There's an awful lot of history. It's 1972, so it's very, very old. And it was originally built by quite a famous chap called Mike Yules, who raced at Le Mans, into an RSR, 911 RSR. And I bought it probably 25 to 28 years ago and have just continually modified it ever since. And I think it's probably the most winningest 911 in Europe, if not elsewhere as well.
Well, it's obviously still working really well.
It is working really well. 2 years ago it caught fire and was basically destroyed, and it's taken us 20 months to rebuild it, and we've turned the engine and gearbox around so it emulates the latest RSRs.
Incredible. So what are your plans for race number 2?
Well, that's very simple. Just go out into the lead and just beat everyone else. But the truth is going to be very difficult because it's a pit stop race. I'm doing it on my own. So I'm hoping I can be in the lead by the time I come into the pits. Then the pro drivers get in the other cars and it's going to be quite difficult, but we'll give it a go.
Well, Richard again has got his car on pole position after his victory yesterday. And of course this time it is the 50-minute pit stop race, but there's no success time penalties this time as it's the opening race of the season. So Adrian Wilmot alongside him for company again, and he's managed to get the whole shot, has Richard Chamberlain, and look at that, he's already pulling away as he heads down towards Redgate for the first time, but not managing to get the car stopped. That looked like a dog trying to turn right on a kitchen floor for a second there, and he's managed to get it round, but he's dropped down to second, possibly lower. He's lost out to Paul Gibson in car number 48, the McLaren 650S, but the 650S is spinning down through the craners onto the grass. Oh my goodness, no, missed the gravel. He's gone in. Oh goodness me, how unfortunate there. He'd got such a great start. He'll be kicking himself with that one. He was really on fire as he came down through the craner curves. Safety car to get the car recovered from the gravel. Out comes Paul Gibson, rejoins the circuit, rejoins the race. As do we at the front, and it's Adrian Wilmot that's got the nod in the number 9 BMW, but look at this Richard Chamberlain coming at him already. He's on the outside though, surely he's not going to do that. Not quite able to do the old switcheroo. It's as though it just takes a little bit longer to get that car up to temperatures in the tyres this time round. It's 50 minutes. You can't win it on lap 1, but you certainly can lose it on lap 1. So he's just been a bit more cautious. Lucky Kira just behind him, and it looks like Wilmot's teammate Dominic Paul sat there in 4th at the moment. He is number 23 in the sister BMW M6 GT3. Great job at the moment as they make their way back up the Schwantz curve into McLean's. And it is still Adrian Wilmot, number 9, that's got the nod. Lucky Kira there, sat there in 3rd at the moment, being pressured by Dominic Paul quite heavily. So that M6 wants to join in with its sister car at the pointy end of the field at the moment. Of course, Dominic Paul last year in the LMP3, year before he was in a Ginetta here in GT Cup. So something very different for him, to say the least. Adrian Wilmot makes his way around Roberts onto the Wheatcross straight, the start-finish straight. as it's sort of Noah's Ark 2x2 at the moment. Look, and Richard Chamberlain's going to try and do the change at the front. Goodness me, he's managed to do it on the power all the way down through the straight, and he's managed to do it before he even gets through to Redgate. Cracking move. Even with throwing the anchors out the back to get it stopped, he was still able to close that door on the BMW, and he's got himself back up into the lead as he makes his way back down the crane of curves. It just doesn't look quite as comfortable as the BMW down through that section at this stage, but I wouldn't be surprised if Richard Chamberlain's just going a little bit steady, making sure he gets through the full 50 minutes of this race. He, of course, has to pit stop, but he doesn't change drivers, so he'll stay sat in there, probably grabbing a drink of water in this the heat inside these cars today. Look at that. Dominic Paul is all over the back of Lucky Kier at the moment. Lucky's still getting used to that McLaren, but doing a great job, as he did at Silverstone only a couple of weeks ago as well. So still holding on to that third as it stands at the moment. In fact, it looks to me as though possibly Adrian Wilmot was just dropping back. No, it was just the optical illusion as they got down to the Robert chicane. But this time, Dominic Paul's going to have the inside line. Is he going to make a move on Lucky Kira? Yes, Lucky saw that he was coming, knew that there was no point shutting the door. Good work there by Lucky Kira. Great pass there by Dominic Paul. He set that up at Robert chicane and made it count. The two Ferraris having a great fight there. Number 83, Richard Guy, in the 458 GT3, and I think that looked like Lucky Christoforou in number 27 as well. Moving back up through the field is Paul Gibson. He's having to get past all these Ginettas at the moment. That's probably frustrating. David Franklin is his next target. I'm sure he'll power past him down the straight in that gorgeous 650S McLaren. It really does look the business. 21 is the car of Joshua Jackson and Sam Random, just holding off the Spy Motorsport car of Brent Millage as it stands at the moment. And the BMWs are together. We knew they'd have to play eventually. It is still Adrian that has the nod at this stage, but Dominic Paul is all over the back of him. So as soon as he was able to get past Lucky Kera, the cork exploded out of the bottle, and he's reeled in his teammate, having a great fight with him already as they're about to put a lap on John Whitehouse that started the 44 McLaren 570 GT4 car. Different to the other two McLarens we'll be seeing at the pointy end of the field. Onto the start-finish straight they come. Must be getting fairly close to the pit stops now, but the BMWs are just having a great time having a fight. I'm sure Century Motorsport are holding their breath in the pit lane somewhat as these two are slugging it out there on the Donington circuit. It might look very sunny, but it's rather brisk to say the least here in Derbyshire. There we go, the pit window is indeed open as we looked briefly there at John Whitehouse in number 44. There's the Marcus Mantis, Warren Gilbert. He's doing it all on his own as well, so there'll be no driver's change for him this time around. There goes John Whitehouse. He's going to hand that car over to Steve Ruston, and they're going to be desperate to try and take the GTH honours again today. These two cars that we're looking at now, they'll be staying the same driver. James Webb in his Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo number 13, he'll be staying in it, as will Brent Millage in his Spy Motorsport Ginetta. The Ferraris are double stacking at the moment as we see the number 44 car making its way back out again, as is number 19. That's Matt Howson's taken over that car now, the 488 Challenge, trying to fight for the GTC honours, as in comes Adrian Wilmot from that great fight between the teammates. So good to see the number 7 Mosler back out there. It didn't manage to take part in the opening race earlier today, but it has this time. John Seal has now handed over that 55 car to Jamie Stanley. That's the pro who's taken over that car, and we'll see how far Jamie Stanley can fight through this field. As back out onto the circuit comes Adrian Wilmot. Just behind him is 48 Paul Gibson fighting his way through. Brent Millage, Lucky Kira, all coming into the pits. It's a very busy pit lane now as Richard Chamberlain also makes his stop now, sees his way through. Oh, Dominic Paul just kicks up a bit of dust there as the Marcus Mantis of Warren Gilbert makes his way back out again. A big Porsche 935 rejoining the circuit. Such a fast car, such an impressive looking vehicle as well, isn't it? As he makes his way round Redgate towards Hollywood and plunging back down the crane of curves again. And we got Graham Tilley there in the TechServe Racing Ginetta. He peels into the pits at the moment. He's trying to take GTA honours. As look at this fight, we've got the Marcus Mantis trying to play with the GTO 650S of Paul Gibson. That car's just got no right to be there against this car. It's a 30-year-old car, but Warren Gilbert is just making it a bit David and Goliath there. As Jamie Stanley now at the wheel of that 55 bright green Lamborghini Huracan GT3. He's now coming up on the M6. Oh, we saw John Seal do that in the first race, and it nearly got as gnarly as we saw the first time, but fortunately it just calmed down. Both of them have gone through. Surely Jamie Stanley's going to do it late on the brakes as he comes down the inside of Adrian Wilmot. Adrian's seen him there just about. Oh my goodness, was there a bit of contact there? I think there was a bit of door bashing as they went through Redgate there, but fortunately no real harm done. Oh, they sweep past the Whitebridge Motorsport Aston Martin as well as the 44 car of Steve Ruston. Both of them have managed to do it through Old Hairpin. They go and start climbing back up the hill, and someone's grass cutting up the hill as well. Just ahead of them is the 54 Brent Millage. That's a lot of grass in the grill there. Hopefully it won't overheat. And I think that's one of the Team Hard Janettas has gone, just kicked up a bit of gravel, but nothing too serious. And there's Chris Murphy and Graham Tilley's just spinning. I think he saw Webb in his mirrors and was also trying to put a lap on Chris Murphy in the GTH and last year's champion, and he's in the gravel. Chris Murphy desperately trying to get that car through. It's not, it's bogging down. And there's the red flag. Such a shame. It was the first corner Redgate, so it wasn't going to be. Richard Chamberlain takes GTO again. Great job. Lackey Christopher and Adam Carroll take GTC in 5th overall. Warren Gilbert takes GTB in 8th overall. 9th is the Team Hard Racing number 79 car GTA goes to Ryan Harper and William Phillips. GTH to Steve Ruston and John Whitehouse, and 11th overall. What a fantastic endurance race. The pit stop race always changes. Tomorrow, let's do it all again.
Race number 3 sees the Moser up front alongside the distinctive orange Porsche of Richard Chamberlain, who's on pole. Now, he's had a great result so far, but how's he going to fare if this race runs the full time? We're going to find out.
Thank you, Michelle. And as you say, yep, Richard Chamberlain on pole position again, but this time with Gareth Downing for company. John Seal, Lee Frost on row 2. 3rd row, James Webb and Lackey Christoforou. 4th row, Warren Gilbert and Dan Gibson. Row 5, Graham Dezilla and Richard Guy. 6th row, Graham Tilley and John Whitehouse. Row 7, William Phillips and Sam Randon. 8th row, Brent Millage and Dale Shelton. Row 9, David Franklin and Chris Murphy. And Mal Samford on the 10th row in his Vantage GT4. So here we go. It is the 25-minute race, the sprint race this morning. Now, what is the Mosler going to be able to do with the power of that Porsche 935? And off they go. Look at the acceleration from those cars. That's fantastic. And Richard Chamberlain does the honours, takes the lead. But no, he doesn't keep it up the inside. Now goes the Mosler. Gareth Downing just scything up there, belying the size of that car. He made it look like some kind of nimble little sports car the way he dived up the inside at Redgate. And look at that already, down through the Craner curves. He's pulling away. 3rd place is Lee Frost, who's taken over from Lucky Kira, that car today. And look at that. It is Dan Gibson, the son of the Gibsons in the number 48 car, that's gone from 8th after the 5-place grid penalty they were served. He's got up into 4th already. They didn't need the penalty. He's going to do it anyway. What a fantastic start there. John Seal in that green 55 Lamborghini Huracan GT3 just behind them in 5th position. And then it's James Webb in the Lamborghini Huracan, but that's the Super Trofeo. That's a GTC, currently leading GTC at the moment. So along they come back towards the start-finish straight, the exhibition straight as many call it. And it looks as though Lee Frost already trying to go a little bit defensive. All the Marcus being harangued by the Ferraris then. But Warren Gilbert has been enjoying his time in the GTB. Oh, and Dan Gibson looking one way, looking the other. Is he going to scythe up the inside in towards Redgate? He is indeed. That was sensible driving by Lee Frost. He knew the move had been done. He looked one way, looked the other. Signed, sealed and delivered. Cracking move by him as he then goes through Hollywood and down the Craner curves. And already he's starting to pull away. Remember, Lucky Kira was in that 29 car yesterday, so this is the first race of the weekend for Lee Frost in this McLaren 650S. So he's still getting used to it. John Seal is getting more and more settled in that Huracan GT3. Oh, is he going to have a little look up through McLean's? Not quite close enough to do it, but he's certainly showing his nose and putting pressure. See the stickers on the tyres there for Lee Frost. They've got a new set of boots on for this race. The marker's still being pressured by the Ferrari. I would imagine that's Lucky Cristoforo. I didn't quite catch the number, the 488 challenge, number 27. And John Seal is I thought he was going to have another look up there. He did that yesterday. Just collects the bollard as he goes through Roberts onto the Wheatcroft straight again. They come down towards us. But Lee Frost, he's still got the measure of that Lamborghini at the moment. And maybe he's just settling in. He's getting more and more comfortable and starting to pull away. James Webb just defying everything. He is in a GTC Huracan Super Trofeo, but going great guns, as is that 30-year-old Marcus. It just is amazing what it's going. A slightly different livery car, a different car for number 83 Richard Guy, with a problem that befell his car yesterday. He's out in a Ferrari 488 Challenge this time, but he's just being not going to be passed in the end by the 79 car. William Phillips is in that. We got confused because Ryan Harper-Ellam qualified it, but William Phillips then jumped in for the race because they'd done enough laps in the practice this morning, and he's now trying desperately to get past Richard Guy. That's a GTC car being pressured by the lead GTA car, but now that they're able to focus on their own battle, the Ferrari's pulled away, and Graham Tilley in the TechServe UK liveried G55 GT4 car is all over the back of 79 William Phillips. So this is for the lead of GTA. Yesterday, Graham Tilley was in the lead of GTA and he just got caught out by a car he was passing on one side and the car that was coming up to lap in on the other, and he just pirouetted into the gravel. Gutted to have that victory taken away from him, so close towards the end as well, and he's desperately trying to find a way to do it this time. But at the moment, William Phillips is doing everything he needs to keep that Team Hard Ginetta G55 ahead in this group battle. It's probably just as well that Richard Guy's just pulled away from this at the moment. Still the Mosler comfortably in the lead. Number 7, Gareth Downing. He's planning to pilot that all day today. I'm hoping they don't get the overheating issues that we saw earlier that just meant that all the fluid was basically coming out of where it's supposed to be in, is the easiest way to say it. Oh, and Richard Chamberlain's now coming up the inside. He's now turned that power up and he has got past it. So Gareth Downing down to second place at the moment, but he's not letting him go, is he? He's still glued to the back of that big Porsche 935. Richard Chamberlain, great move there, just powered down, and he knew he had enough coming up the inside. Oh, but he's not hanging about, is he? David Franklin in the 911 Porsche, the 991 GT3. He was not planning to hang about there because he knew that the Mosler could come back at him. There's last year's champion, the number 72 car of Chris Murphy. He sticks to the racing line, which is the rules that they set out with the GT Cup. The cars that are lapping, they are the ones that just know the slower car's going to stick on the racing line. Therefore, they move off it and sweep round the outside, as they did in that case. But Richard Chamberlain needs to get past them, and he is like a hot knife through butter. I'm glad I got it the right way round this time, but he is doing it. He's scything through the field, trying to keep that big Mosler. If you ever get to see this car close up, it is so impressive to see. Still, William Phillips holding on in that 79 Ginetta, keeping Graham Tilley at bay at the moment, but he is really trying to find a way to get himself back up into the lead of GTA. New to GT Cup this year is Graham Tilley, and I think he's going to enjoy it here in this paddock. And he is a very talented racer of many years. There is the number 3 car of Warren Gilbert, the Marcus Mantis, still holding off Lucky Cristoforo. They're not in the same group. These guys don't care. They just love racing, and we love watching them racing, let's be honest. No, there's the Mosler. The Mosler is going slow. Now, is that into retirement, and is it the overheating issue that we saw earlier in the day? I hope not. They've had a really challenging weekend, have the National Motorsport Academy team. Such a shame, but still the 79 car of William Phillips holding on to that GTA. Had to go defensive there as they came down towards the left of Roberts, bringing them onto the start-finish straight, the Wheatcroft straight. Graham Tilley not quite being able to make a move there. Oh, and we've got a big throng of cars at the moment. There's John Seal cutting his way through these back markers. It looks as though the Brent Millage 54 car has sort of followed with him. They're not fighting it out for group honours there, but he's followed through. Great to see the 71 car of Dale Shelton. That's another very old car, the E36 M3, and he's going brilliant to get that one running. Great work by number 10, Mal Samford, in the Whitebridge Motorsports Vantage GT4, letting the McLaren of Lee Frost through as we go on to the final lap of this 25-minute sprint race. The flames belching out of that E36 M3 of Dale Shelton. That was a stunning sight. Photographer's dream. But here comes Richard Chamberlain. He didn't have it his own way through this race, but he's about to come through Roberts for the final time onto the start-finish straight. Down he comes, not quite going to put a lap on. Checkered flag, he takes the victory. Fantastic job by him there. And as I say, he had to work hard. There goes number 3, Warren Gilbert. He's going to take the GTB honours as well. Special mention, 48, Dan Gibson. He's coming through to take 2nd overall after starting in 8th place. Most of that work was done in the early stages, and he did a great job. So Richard Chamberlain takes the victory from Daniel Gibson. John Seal in 3rd, Lee Frost in 4th place. Then it's James Webb who takes not only 5th but GTC honours. Warren Gilbert in 6th with GTB honours. Lucky Christopher in 7th. Graham DeZille in 8th. 9th is Gareth Downing, just nursing at home. And Richard Guy in the replacement car for him, number 83, comes home in 10th position. 11th is William Phillips in the 79 car, just holding off Graham Tilley. So that gives GTA honours to Ryan. Not Ryan, it is William Phillips that's out there. Sam Randon takes GTH honours in 13th place. John Whitehouse in 14th. Dale Shelton 15th. Brent Millage in 16th. 17th place is David Franklin. 18th is Chris Murphy. And 19th is Mal Samford. A very happy bunch of drivers. Down to Michelle to hear from them.
Richard, fantastic, 3 out of 3, great result.
Thank you very much indeed. It was a lot harder. Gareth was very quick to begin with, and it would have been a fantastic race all the way through had he not slowed.
Got off to a fairly good start and was just able to build on the pace. I've been getting more and more comfortable in the car and yeah, slowly getting to grips with it.
Got the old Marcos, it's pretty old, 1997. Battling against cars in a higher class, and boy was it a battle with the Ferrari. You know, it was just push, and eventually he made a mistake, I made a mistake, but I managed to get a clean pass and managed to stay ahead, which I was surprised about, but I'll take it anyway.
We know we've got a hard race on with that McLaren this year. It's in straight line speed is incredible. So no, it's great for myself, the team. So we're just really happy with the victory.
Been out of the seat for a year now, so it feels great to be back in the seat, and especially getting such a close battle there with Tilley. Constantly swapping and changing positions between 1st and 2nd. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but the traffic definitely did hinder both of us at certain times, but at the same time it came to my advantage as well. So no, great race, really enjoyed it.
Well, Richard Chamberlain managed to pull it out of the bag for a 3rd time. Can he do it for the 4th? We'll find out. We've got loads more racing coming up next. There have been a few changes to the grid behind me, but it's a very familiar picture up front with Richard Chamberlain back on pole yet again. However, how different will the podium look? Race number 4 is all about endurance.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. It certainly is about endurance, and Richard Chamberlain's got himself that front row all to himself because the Mosler can't make it. Dan Gibson and John Seal on row 2, James Webb and Lee Frost on the 3rd row, Lucky Christopher and Warren Gilbert on row 4, 5th row Graham DeZille and Richard Guy, 6th row Graham Tilley and Will Phillips, row 7 Steve Ruston and Sam Randon, 8th row, no Dale Shelton, so Brent Millage has it to his own. David Franklin and Chris Murphy on the 9th row, and Mal Samford on row 10. So, it is the 50-minute race. It is a pit stop required. Some changing, some not. The pole sitter, he's doing the whole thing on his own. Richard Chamberlain pulls away from another car doing it on his own. Dan Gibson, he's taken over from Dad, who piloted it yesterday, and he's done an absolutely incredible job here today. What can he do without any success ballast or success time, should I say, in the pit stop? He could get himself to a strong position, especially at the moment. He's staying with Richard Chamberlain, who is going to want to try and build a gap if he possibly can. Those two are building a bit of a gap over John Seal at this stage, but we've seen that 55 car come on strong every single time it's been out there, both whether it's been John Seal or Jamie Stanley. To be fair, they've done a cracking job. Up round McLean's they go. Lee Frost sat there in 4th position at the moment. He's managed to lose contact with them a little bit at the moment, but he's not under any pressure from behind as it stands, so he's going to start reeling them in, I suspect. He's been getting more and more confident with this car as the weekend has gone on as well. Down the exhibition straight they come towards Roberts for the first time, and it is Richard Chamberlain in the lead. Dan Gibson trying to keep him honest as much as he possibly can, haranguing him. And in fact, look at this, he's obviously got a good exit from Roberts. He's on the outside there. He's probably not going to make a move round the outside there, but he now gets to do the switcheroo as Richard Chamberlain's forced out wide. That was absolutely textbook, an outstanding move. By staying on the outside, it forced Richard Chamberlain to stay on the inside line, and then knowing that he's going to struggle for grip on the outside, does the old switcheroo and dives it up the inside as they went through Redgate. Great move by Dan Gibson, and he already is starting to pull away, and Richard Chamberlain was so unsettled that it's put him in under pressure by John Seal. This GTA battle still raging, and it's Graham Tilley that's got the nod at the moment in the Tech-Serve Ginetta G55. And coming down through to Old Hairpin, that looks like Graham Dazil in 19, just about holding off the number 3 car of Warren Gilbert. Totally different groups. One's GTC, one's GTB. They don't care. They're going to fight with anyone. It is the joys of the GT Cup. There's fights throughout. Well, it did look initially as though Richard Chamberlain lost contact with Dan Gibson, but he's managed to claw that back again. He's not had to go defensive any longer with John Seal, so he's been able to focus frontwards, and he has reeled him in. Not quite putting pressure on him yet. Dan Gibson does look like he's in control of this at the moment in that beautiful McLaren 650S. Really is a gorgeous car and very powerful. Well, and then we've got number 83, Richard Guy, in his different livery and different car, 488 Challenge. Different Sunday for him this time round, and he's got that going. Great guns. Just managed to get past the GTB car of Warren Gilbert. As I say, different groups, don't care. They're just having a whale of a time. Graham Tilley still holding on to GTA at the moment, keeping the 79 Team Hard Ginetta G55 of Will Phillips behind him at the moment. And you see just behind him is the 44 GTH leader of Steve Ruston that started that McLaren 570. As they go plunging back down through the crane of curves, Graham Tilley desperately trying to put a bit of daylight between himself and the Team Hard Ginetta, and especially as they know they've got the McLaren behind them. Different group, but we've seen it throughout. That does not matter. So Graham Tilley trying to do his absolute utmost before he gets to the pit stop stage as they come back up the hill through Schwanzkirch into the right-hander of McLean, just keeping it nice and tidy as they make their way towards Coppice in this evening sunshine here at Donington Park. And definitely that Team Hard car. Remember, you've got the dynamic of a different driver taking over that car. Graham Tilley going the full distance in this one, which A, is going to be physically harder, as we know, but he's also got the dynamic of different strengths and weaknesses of the different drivers that he's going to be competing with. This GTA fight has been showing that for drivers, you're always going to have a race in GT Cup. For us spectators, there are fights for us to watch through the entire field. And look at this back at the front. Dan Gibson still holding on to it in the number 48 McLaren 650S, but Richard Chamberlain all over the back of him as they head up towards Coppice one more time. And he's just not quite getting himself into position to make a move at this stage, but you can see that he is haranguing him as much as possible, and we've got the pit stops yet to do, so he wants to do something. Oh, I thought he was going to have a look there as he got down towards the right left of Roberts onto the start-finish straight, but not quite able to do it at this stage, through to complete yet another lap in this 50-minute race. As they come down towards Redgate, he's not close enough to try and do to Dan what Dan did to him earlier in the race. So Dan Gibson still has the lead at the moment. Round Hollywood, down towards the Craner curves. These cars must be incredible down through the Craner curves. Grip it and rip it. 83 Richard Guy still sat there in that black and white Ferrari. Looks like he's closing in on Graham Dazil, the 458 Challenge car, which is also a GTC, so that is a GTC fight there. And Richard Guy changed car, which just means that we've just got to get used to a slightly different dynamic there now, but he is definitely reeling him in, isn't he, the 83 car of Richard Guy. Sort of cow livery on that one, isn't it? Oh, there's Brent Millage, and I thought he was about to have a dive up the inside of 72 Chris Murphy, but not this time. There's James Webb. He looks as though he's going to be trying to desperately do something with the Group C, but very healthy Group C here, GTC. But at the moment, it does look like Richard Guy is desperately trying to put a move on 19. Graham DeZille, he's looking towards the inside as he gets towards Redgate. Oh, I thought there was going to be a slight bit of contact, but not quite able to do it. So still, Graham DeZille has the nod in that fight in GTC, but they're running, from my reckoning, about 3rd or 4th in that GTC as it stands at the moment. Down through to Old Hairpin. Not quite able to make a move there, but my goodness, he is desperately trying to find a way to do it, as is Richard Chamberlain at the front of the field. He's coming down towards Roberts, surely not there. Yes, he is. He's managed to throw it up the inside, threading the eye of a needle through that chicane onto the Wheatcroft straight. Cracking move. And what exceptional driving by these two. They are fighting hard but fair. No paintwork traded whatsoever there by either of these two. Up goes Richard Chamberlain, just running wide there, and so Dan Gibson's coming back up the inside there. Scrabbling for adhesion was Richard Chamberlain. Now they're going down through the craners, and they stayed side by side for a moment there, but Dan Gibson in that McLaren was able to scythe it back up to the front again. Outstanding racing by these two. Oh, and there's the number 83 car of Richard Guy. We've been enjoying that battle, but he looked like he may have actually got past, but he's thrown it through the gravel at Roberts onto the start-finish straight. Now he's got to do an Austin Powers and get that turned round and facing the right way again. So all of a sudden, the 19 car of Graham DeZille is fighting with Warren Gilbert. GTC versus GTB. But you can see they're enjoying it. As are these two. Look at this. This is actually a fight now for GTH. 44, Steve Ruston, until he hands over to John Whitehouse. And he's got the 21 car of Sam Randon started that G55. Oh, Lee Frost is there, but suddenly caught my eye was a bit of a wag of the nose there by the 13 car of James Webb. That's Super Trofeo. Oh, and there's now suddenly it's the 19 car that spins. So the two Ferraris that were having their battle have both been trying to compare spins this time round, and through goes the Marcus. He's watched both of them spin in front of him, sadly this time. I don't think he's fighting with these guys. Warren Gilbert's been impressive, but I dare say he's about to get swallowed up any second, and Richard Chamberlain's trying to swallow up Dan Gibson as they go through Redgate, both acutely aware that they've got the car that they're going to lap soon, and they're still trying to go side by side as the pit window opens. Doesn't matter. These two are going the full distance, so we get to enjoy this from the get-go through to the end. And they're still trying to get past the Warren Gilbert, Marcus Mantis. In comes Lucky Christopher. He's handing over to Adam Carroll now. This does not present well for James Webb in that Group GTC. In has gone the Dan Gibson. He's decided he's just got to take a break from that fight for a moment. Hopefully they will pick it back up again. In goes James Webb in the Lamborghini, and it looked like that was the 21 car of Sam Randon ready to hand over to Joshua Jackson. Out has come the 19 driver of Graham DeZille to hand over to Matt Howson. 44, John Whitehouse taking over that car now. Steve Ruston did a great job in that first stint. There goes 27 with Adam Carroll, the pro driver, at the wheel now. Dan Gibson comes out in that McLaren. Now what can he do? He's the one that had the benefit in terms of the penalty in the pit, the success penalty. Richard Chamberlain, that would have been, just felt like an absolute age for him as he comes back out now in the middle of another fight further down. And there, all of a sudden, just behind him is the 55 car, Jamie Stanley, the pro driver that's going to be trying to get his way through this before the end of the race. And that was Lee Frost in number 29. But look at this, down towards Old Hairpin. Oh my goodness, I thought it was going to be contact on the rear corner, but he somehow got it stopped. But I think Richard Chamberlain was worried about that as well, and it just spooked him enough that he just went wide and kicked up some dirt in the face of the 55 car, and through has gone the 55. Now that puts him up into second, and he's going to have to hunt down Dan Gibson, that's up quite a long way ahead at the moment, so that'd be a big ask. But Jamie Stanley is one heck of a pro driver. They nearly did it yesterday in the pit stop race, but couldn't quite do it when a red flag came up a little bit earlier, so they're going to be looking to do it as quickly as possible. There goes the 21 car, now at the hands of Joshua Jackson. So are they going to be trying to keep hold of that GTH honours this time round? Through past him, putting a lap on him goes Jamie Stanley. There is the 27, Adam Carroll, another outstanding pro, desperately trying to make sure that GTC is all theirs. In the sprint races, James Webb has been able to take both the victories, but it's just been that little bit more challenging come the pit stop race. Equally, these guys, the 55, they have done what I said surely was too much to do. He has closed in on Dan Gibson. We have seen how incredible Dan Gibson has been racing, so that gives you an idea of just the talent of Jamie Stanley. Diving towards the inside here at Roberts, surely not, surely not. That has got to be eye of a needle stuff again, and he has done it, and he did it early as the light starts dimming here at Donington Park. The talent is doing the absolute opposite. It is coming massively to light. This is just incredible racing here. Up into the lead has gone the 55 car of Jamie Stanley. John Seal will be going wild in the pits. He certainly loves his racing. Someone's off into the gravel. That's the Tech Serve car of Graham Tilley, just managing to get it through the gravel, but understandably that's upset the car a little bit. He gets it stopped before the barriers, and hopefully he'll be able to rejoin and see it through to the end, especially this close. The last lap, there goes the GTB leader. There goes the GTO and overall race leader of Jamie Stanley in the number 55. As we come through, there goes the Marcus Mantis, but the checkered flag is taken by Jamie Stanley. They fought their way through, they took that victory, an incredible performance. Here comes Dan Gibson, he's coming through to take second place, and what a fantastic fight that was. So, GTO was taken by John Seal and Jamie Stanley in 55. GTC was won by Lucky Christopher and Adam Carroll in the 27 car, coming home in 5th. 9th was number 3, the GTB winner Warren Gilbert, and just one place behind number 79, the Team Hard Racing of Ryan Harper Ellum and William Phillips take GTA. GTH was taken by their sister car, number 21, Joshua Jackson, and Sam Randon in 11th. Down to Michelle for the interviews.
Jamie did a good job. I kept as close as I could to the leaders, and Jamie finished it off. And if I could keep within 5-6 seconds of them, there was no question about it. So it was good.
Fantastic race, and just a brilliant weekend altogether.
Yeah, the second part was good. We had a great stop, and the McLaren was a little slow coming out of the pit stop, so we had a nice little bit of buffer. So, yeah, no, it was good. The car started to drop off towards the end, but it was just about managing the lead at that point. So, no, we had a great weekend. An excellent driving by my teammate. He put us on pole to give us a chance to give us a strong chance for the race ahead. So no, really good. Tough race again with traffic, always causing an issue, but it makes it more of a challenge and it's good fun.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this first weekend of GT Cup racing as much as we have. It's been fantastic. And we'll be doing it all over again for round 2, which is next month when the cars roll into Snetterton. See you then.